Do you remember what your goals were for 2025? How well did you do, and how much time, effort, and energy did you put into making sure you achieved them? Were you locked in and consistent, focused, dedicated, and diligent, or do you know for a fact maybe you left a little bit on the table? Did you crush your goals, or did they crush you? And if somehow, some way you didn't get done every single thing you wanted to, what was the reason? Was it because the world was against you, or was it because you failed to do the planning and executing? Because you won't just stumble across success. You're not gonna accidentally find your way into the golden gates of winning. Today we want to talk about the idea of building a plan that will allow you to execute and dominate in 2026 and beyond. The main reason why you weren't able to crush your goals in 2025 was because you failed to properly plan and then execute. What about creating a system that is intentional and deliberate? You can win in ways you didn't even know was possible. What if you were able to max out everything you were capable of this coming year and beyond? What if the start of a year isn't the only time you can lock in and achieve the things you wanted to? What if your future is right there in your hands waiting for you to go and grab it? What are you gonna do so that you never have to look back on another year with regret? This is the infinite evolution. What if the road to you fulfilling your dreams and living up to everything that you know you're capable of, what if that road begins right here, right now? What if all you need is a solid plan that you can execute on a daily basis that will lead to much bigger goals and outcomes? What if all it takes is a system? The method I'm about to show you is so good, so effective, that it doesn't matter what day, week, month, or year you're in. As soon as you decide that you're serious and you want to start to implement it, you will immediately start to see dividends. Full stop. Before we go any further, this entire thing starts with your mindset. I say so often that thought precedes action. If your mind is not in the right place, if you are not committed to making small incremental steps, there's no way you're gonna get it. When you allow your mind to believe that Rome could be built in a day, you set yourself up for a world of failure and heartbreak, because it's not possible. What if instead of trying to build Rome in a day, you start to lay bricks, you start to build the foundation, and you start to set yourself up so that 2, 3, 5 years from now, the foundation is built in order for you to achieve that greatness. Because in order to be a millionaire in 5 years, you need to start putting in work today. The longer you wait to get started, the longer you wait to start executing and being consistent, the further you'll get from it. Nothing I'm gonna tell you about today is magical. Nothing I'm gonna tell you about is gonna require you to be Superman. Nothing I tell you today will be something that you can't immediately implement, because you get to decide what the steps are and then execute them. But if you're not serious, this will not work. If you're not determined and dedicated to achieve a different outcome, there's no way it's gonna happen, because it's too easy to be complacent. The balance of being serious about chasing those dreams with action and planning, not just words, balancing the two competing ideas of urgency and knowing that there's something that's important enough to where you need to put a pace on, and without it, you're gonna crash and burn. If your mind is thinking you must do everything right now, that's where people lose. Most of the time when you hear people talk about a New Year's resolution, it generally doesn't make it far. When you talk about the gyms filling up in January, what do they look like in February or March or December? A whole lot emptier. The reason why gyms are jam-packed in January and like a ghost town come June or July is because the people who put in the work for the summer body are doing it in the winter. The people who are looking for a quick fix and are not being patient with themselves, they quit and give up. They quickly realize that what they're looking for is gonna require a lot more than what they were willing to give. So many people start off like a rocket ship, but burn out just as quickly. You need to have a mindset of patience and diligence. You will not achieve your yearly goals in the first day or week or month, and you don't even need to. Instead, what you need to do is focus on embracing the process, winning the small moments, which will lead to days, then weeks, then months. Most people lose because they overestimate what they can get done in a year. You probably won't see massive results after the first month, and if you were expecting it, you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you tell yourself, no matter what, I'm gonna keep showing up, I'm gonna keep eating right, I'm gonna keep doing the things I need to, eventually you'll get there. And this goes far beyond just fitness and getting right. And so today we want to talk about the idea of setting goals and winning the day. Not making resolutions, because those don't work. Because before you win a year, you gotta win a month. And before you can win a month, you should probably win a week. And before you can win a week, you need to learn how to win the individual day. It's beautiful to have goals for the year, but if you don't have the small steps in place in order to get there and the mindset that'll keep you consistent and urgent, you're not going to reach it. This is the year that you are consistent. This is the year that you show up for yourself. This is the year that we don't allow excuses to ruin the progress that we could be making. We will embrace the process. We will focus on winning the day first and building from there. That's how we get the momentum, and this is the infinite evolution. When you think about the power of something like trust, when a person has big dreams, goals that they know for a fact have been placed on their heart and minds, and don't do anything with it, you start to lose faith in yourself. It's almost like you start teaching yourself that you can't expect the best from you. You can't expect you to deliver for yourself. Well, if you can't even expect you to deliver for you, how can others? How can others show up for a person who won't even show up for themselves? How can others deliver the goods to a person who won't even deliver them to themselves? And here comes the beauty of the pen and the notebook. And so today what I want to deliver for you is a framework that you can use every single day to make sure you're winning, to make sure you're focused, to make sure your mind is right, focused, patient, persistent, so that you can be accountable to the dreams and goals you set for yourself. You know for a fact that if 10, 15, 20 years pass and you haven't made progress, you're going to feel some type of way. So with that pen and notebook, you begin to write. We currently live in a world of massive customization where almost everything can be made to order. And so with these goals, with this mindset, with this journal, you could take the same approach, but based on my experience, it works best when you're able to implement every single thing I implement. There are 5 key pillars that if you can find a way to get these done every single day, there's no way you won't win. Now, for most of my life, I never wrote down goals. I was pretty much able to freestyle life, do everything I needed to, strictly off of memorization, and I got some really good results. But once you start climbing to new heights, challenging yourself in new ways, starting a business, I wish I would have learned these things years ago, maybe even when I was a kid. But sometimes you go through things in order to be able to help others. To me, what that means is if you're young and hearing it, congratulations. You don't have to go through what I did. You can learn from my mistakes. But even once you get beyond those years of being a kid or an adolescent, there's still something you can do with this. For me, there are 6 different things that every single day I'm making sure that I write down in my journal. By the way, when I say journal, I'm not even talking anything fancy. When I first started, I was literally using just a plain black and white composition book from the dollar store. And although it only cost me $1, it saved me so much time, energy, and effort. That might be the best dollar I've ever spent. The first thing you need is gratitude. How could you truly appreciate new blessings when you don't even understand the blessing that you've already been given? Why would the future ever show you favor when you won't even cherish the present? And so the first thing to start off with every single day is the gratitude. It's what keeps you grounded. It's your purpose, your motivation, your engine, your driving force, the thing that's gonna keep you going. If what you already have is something that you're not grateful for, working hard, being consistent, showing up day after day, especially when it's not something easy, why would that be something you commit to when you don't even appreciate what you already have? If working hard, committing to goals, doing all the things you need to could only lead to more of the same and you don't even appreciate the present, you'll never be blessed with more. So every single day, I start off with 3 things that I'm grateful for. By the way, as I'm talking about the different components of this journal, you may not get 100% completion at the beginning. It may take you a while, but if you keep showing up, if you keep building towards the process, there's no way you won't get it. The next thing I put inside of this journal are my goals. Every single day, there's at least 5 things that I know I want to get done. For me, when I start the day off with gratitude, I'm laying the framework for the entire day. When you begin every single day with gratitude, you're choosing to make sure that your efforts, the actions you take, are being driven by the right type of fuel. Because when you're thankful, you thrive. When you're grateful, you go harder. Gratitude is like the fuel that powers the engine of your day. Once we got the fuel in place, now we need a mechanism that we can use in order to make the best use of it. That's where goals come in. And so every single day, I start off with the top 5 things I want to achieve in that day. It could be big things, it could be something small, something you need to remember. But if I'm keeping track of all the things I need to get done on a daily, how can I lose? If I'm keeping track of all of the small things that I need to get done on a daily, it allows me to take that fuel of gratitude and pour it into my goals in such a way that I'm able to take action. Starts in the mind, converts into a plan, and then we can execute. And it doesn't matter what industry you think of. At the top of the mountain, somebody has a game plan. Somebody's intentional and they know exactly what they're doing every single day. If you're the CEO of the corporation of your life, how are things going to get done if you have no idea what you're doing? You can't build an empire if you don't even first have the blueprint. And so as the architect of your very own life, when you've been blessed with the fuel of gratitude, when you've been blessed with the blueprint of having goals, if you're going out and executing every single day with passion, with purpose, consistently, who's going to stop that? And just like that, your day became that much more simpler? What if instead of focusing on 1,000 things at once, you just do 5 things really good? Sometimes I gotta add more to it. Sometimes there's 7 or 8 things I gotta get done in a day, and sometimes I don't get 100% of them done that day. I'm still working with urgency. I'm still moving with consistency. But if I have every single thing written down, if I gotta go back the next day and handle business, I can do it because everything is organized. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know the reason why I'm doing it, and it makes it that much easier in order to do. Imagine having a playbook for your life. All you gotta do is execute. Things become that much easier. So when you can simplify life and remove so much of the guesswork, remove so many of the unknown variables, you make it that much easier for you to succeed. But when you leave them there, when you leave it up to chance, when you freestyle, you get whatever the universe decides to throw at you. And you're going to get that anyway. To a certain extent, you only have but so much control. Well, if you've only been given a little bit of control, shouldn't you take advantage of what you've been given? If you've only been blessed with a little bit of time to do the things that you're supposed to do, shouldn't you be taking advantage of all of it? Well, should isn't really a word I love to use too much. Should only exist if or when something else exists. You should be locked in and writing those goals. You should be focusing on and using gratitude if you're serious about winning this year. If you're not, you can leave them where they are. The next thing you need to do is have some sort of way of recapping the whole day. If the gratitude feels like a struggle, if writing the goals down feels like a struggle, maybe what you can do is start small. When it came to coming up with my goals, I wasn't able to do all 5 of these consistently. The framework that I'm talking about is something that I've been able to develop over the years. I didn't get it overnight. And so for you, if you're struggling, maybe the best thing to do is start off small. If every day you start off with just those 2, gratitude and goals, you're gonna win. Maybe 5 things is too many. Maybe you need to focus on just winning 3 of them. If every single day for the next 30 days, the 3 most important things that you gotta get done, you do, what type of momentum could you build? How far could you get? How much closer to those goals would you be? And not only that, but there's literally data to support what I'm saying. If at the end of 30 days, you literally have a notebook where every single day you have results, what does that do to your psyche? You know for a fact that you're the type of guy who executes. You know for a fact that you're the type of woman who, when you make a promise to yourself, you deliver on it. That's different. The third part to the powerful playbook of your life is gonna be habits. There are certain things that you need to get done every single day that you want to be consistent on, maybe that you're trying to build towards, but you're not quite there yet. This is what habits are. When it comes to gratitude, goals, and habits, the reason why we're writing them down is so that you can be accountable to yourself. It's hard to forget about something when every single day you're writing about it. It's hard to not know what you're supposed to do when you literally have it written down and you can see with handwriting that is uniquely yours, this is what I was supposed to be doing. It hits different, but only if you give yourself that chance. These are the small or big things that you are going to commit to doing consistently. Unlike the first 2, these things will pretty much stay the same. When it comes to writing down those gratitudes, the things you appreciate most, 3 to 5, whatever number works best for you, those things could change. When it comes to your goals every single day, those things could change. Your habits are going to stay the same. For me, I got the same 5 habits every single day. And if I commit to doing those same 5 things every day for the rest of the year, I'm going to see some real progress. The thing I love most about this section of the journal, when it comes to these habits and drilling them in, when it comes to those things that you know you want to lock in and master and show up for more consistently, it helps to write it down every single day. When it comes to gratitude, there is an infinite amount of possibilities of things you could appreciate. It could be as small as a fresh piece of fruit, or it could be as big as coming home to a loving family. Whatever the small or big things that you're appreciative for, those are the things you write down. If I'm being 100% honest, gratitude is actually one of the last things I added to my journal, but it's probably also been the most important and impactful, because when every single day I'm writing down what the fuels are, the driving forces are that are keeping me going, how could I not keep pushing? It becomes so hard to be lazy and procrastinate and make excuses, because I'm literally putting pen to paper and expressing the things that matter most to me, big or small. When I first began writing my gratitudes, I started off with 3 things a day. These days I'm doing 6. The first 3 I start at the beginning of the day. The other 3 I'll write throughout. But whatever your system is, find what works for you. Do what's gonna get you the best result. Imagine all day long, you're constantly fueling your mind with the different things that you have to be grateful for, with the different things that are worth fighting for. It could be as simple as making sure I charge up the batteries to my camera or have enough memory on the card in order to shoot a video, delivering a letter in the mail, making sure that I eat a certain amount of food every day. By the way, one of the things I'm trying to build upon this year is eating more oranges. Great source of vitamin C, really healthy. One of my goals this week was eat 2 oranges. And because I wrote it down, I was able to get it done. There was one day where I wrote it down and I actually only ate 1 orange. Well, guess what? It was still written down, so I can still see that it was there. I can still come back to it the next day, and I can still lock in and get that much closer to what it is I'm trying to achieve. I'm being patient with myself, but I'm still moving with urgency. If somehow, some way, I miss something, I'm not going to beat myself up so that I don't want to do it again. I'm going to go back and get it done if I can. I'm going to find new ways to regroup and rethink, but I'm not going to let it get the best of me. The 4th section, and I may get some pushback on this, but I promise you is really helpful, especially if you're trying to get your health back in order, your fitness back right. The next thing I'm doing is keeping an accurate and consistent food log. The water I drink, the food I eat, the things I consume with my body are critical because you only get one, and the physical fuel that you put inside of your body is going to determine the mental fuel you also get. Over the last year, I entered the fitness challenge. The thing my coach had me do was to write down every single thing I ate, which sounds like it's a lot. And by the way, this entire notebook might sound like it's a lot, but check that screen time. If you got 10-15 hours a week on TikTok, why can't you put 10-15 hours a week towards your goals? If you can dedicate 30-40 hours a week to Instagram, why can't you give the same energy to achieving the things that you set out to do? If you know for a fact that when December 31st rolls around, you weren't happy with the way that those results looked, this is the way you get it done. The fuel and hydration that we choose to use as literal fuel for our body will often determine our outcomes. The best of the best are really particular about the things that they eat and drink. Why? Because how can you ever hope to achieve high-level outcomes when you consistently fuel your body and your mind with low-level hydration and food and energy? It doesn't work that way. The 5th part to this beautiful playbook is gonna be the journal. It doesn't need to be massive. It doesn't need to be a book, but you need to have at least 4 to 5 lines where you can just get out your thoughts and learnings from the day, the things you observed, the things that you went through, the things you experienced, the things that matter most. If you have 0 data, how can you ever build and learn upon what you've already been given? Every single day that you live is producing data. And if you can harness that data and use it with intentional focus, you achieve some amazing results. I actually think this might be the 2nd most important piece, right next to gratitude. If you've never set goals before and you don't know what works, you don't know about gratitude, all of this is foreign to you, the least you can do is reflect on what the day looked like. Reflect on the most important things that happened. Reflect on any aha moments. Reflect on what you need to take away in order to build upon the momentum you had. Reflect on what things caused you to stumble. Reflect on what things could have been better, what things you did excellently. All of this reflection is going to help you for the next day. All of this reflection, all of this perspective is going to help fuel you for the rest of the year. Imagine if you start this journal in January, what it's going to look like in June. Imagine if you start this journal in August, what's it going to look like in December. It could literally be fuel of data that you can use to reach the next level of key information, maybe inconsistencies, flaws or weakness that you can use in order to improve. But if you're not writing in a journal, how can it ever be done? I'm not saying you got to go to the deepest, darkest crevices of your thoughts, but you got to put something down, some reflections of what the day looked like, what happened, what role you played in it. And again, the same way when you get bored, you pull out your phone. What if you pull out your journal instead and you start writing down gratitude? What if all throughout the day, instead of constantly checking your phone, looking up social media, finding out about things that really don't matter, what if you put that same energy into checking on your goals, into writing and reflecting about what the day looked like so that you have that useful data that's going to take you to the next level? What if you swap screen time for journal time? And what if the results are tremendous? By the way, if you're looking to make your goals that much better, I recommend making goals that are SMART goals. When it comes to creating the best goals, goals that allow you to be consistent, use urgency, and actually effectively get them done, you want to make goals that are SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. If it's not specific enough, it's hard to know if you got it done or not. When you say something like, save a little money today, how do you know you did it? It's the difference between saying, go for a walk versus go for a 30-minute walk. Going for a walk could be 5-10 steps. Going for a 30-minute walk is specifically that. The more specific your goals are, the easier it's going to be for you to achieve them because you know exactly what the target is. But when you don't know exactly what you're trying to achieve, it's going to be really hard to do so. Measurable. If you can create a goal that is something that you can measure, that's that much better. It's the difference between do some push-ups versus do 30 push-ups. If the goal is 30 push-ups and you get to 25, you may not have achieved everything you want to, but that's a whole lot better than 0. You can measure what the goal is. You can't measure something that isn't specific. They go hand in hand. The next thing it needs to be is something attainable. You probably won't be able to save or make $1 million in one day, but maybe you could save 5 or 10 or 50. Maybe you could spend $0 on coffee this morning. Whatever the thing is, the goal needs to be something attainable. It has to be something you can actually realistically get done. Otherwise, what's the point in making it? You set yourself up for a world of failure when you consistently create goals that aren't realistic for you to get done. Set goals that are attainable and you'll achieve so many more of them. Baby steps will eventually build and lead to momentum. Thinking too big though will often lead to really small results. Which one do you want? The last 2 components of a SMART goal are actually kind of already built in here, but if you want to, you can add a little bit more to it. When your goal is relevant, you actually care about it, you're actually invested in it, and you have that much more motivation, discipline, drive in order to get it done. This is why we started off with gratitude, because that built-in fuel is already right there. The last part to a SMART goal is time-based. If you have forever to do it, you're going to take till forever to do it. If you have 5 hours to do a job, you're going to give yourself 5 hours. All of the goals that I'm talking about right here and now are already time-based because they're for a specific day. If you want to get even better, you can add a time to it. Go to the gym by 5 o'clock. Study 2 hours by noon. Do this specific thing by this specific time and watch the way you flourish. All day long, you're picking up nuggets of information. You don't need to have everything. You just need to synthesize and distinguish what's the most important, what's worth retaining, and then just write that little bit down. One thing I learned about me is that if I save everything for the end of the day, it becomes too much and it might seem overwhelming. So what I do instead is all throughout the day, I'm filling in a journal. Because when you add a sentence here or a thought there, you look up at the end of the day and the journal will be complete. You might have a little bit of room left for a couple of ideas, but that's what you were looking for. Honest reflections about what took place during the day that you can use to plan and prepare your future. We're all human and our memories aren't perfect. But if you're writing things down, you don't have to. You don't have to memorize everything when you have everything written down. Oftentimes we forget just how bad we are in a good way. When you have moments where it feels like you're down in the dumps and nothing is getting accomplished, all you gotta do is go into that journal and look at the results that you've been achieving. Which leads to my next point. All of these words sound really good, but everything I'm talking about requires action. The last thing I put in my journal every single day, and I do it mostly towards the end, is the recap of the day. 3 wins and 3 things I could improve on. Maybe you got some goals done. Maybe you finished a journal. Maybe you achieved something. Maybe you saw somebody. Whatever positive things you could think of that occurred throughout the day, I want you to write them down. I want you to know for a fact that what they are. Put pen to paper and make them real. And just like that, you built in that much more gratitude, fuel for the future. It's almost like you start the day off the same way you ended it, with gratitude, the things you're grateful for. And just like with the journal, when we reflected on the things that happened, sometimes not everything goes perfectly. There's usually something we could improve on during the day. I also leave room for 3 things I want to improve on. And so my recap looks like 3 things that went well and that I'm proud of, that I like the way they went down, 3 things that I can improve. I talked about how gratitude in the journal might be the most important parts. The improvements might be my favorite. At the beginning of this video, I talked about the importance of your mindset. If all throughout the day, you're consistently grabbing a phone or staring at a screen or doing whatever is unproductive, take that same time and energy and put it into this journal and see just how great you can become. Watch how far you can go if you commit to yourself. This is the infinite evolution. When I first started my journal, the only thing I had in there was goals. I watched a video of a YouTuber who I really respected, and he talked about the idea of just writing down and executing on the 3 to 5 most important things you want to get done every single day. It started there. When it came to my first journals, the only thing I had was goals. I wrote the top 3 things I need to get done every single day, and eventually it expanded to 5 or more or whatever it took. But having those goals every single day set off the spark. At the time in which I started creating my goals, I was starting to lock in and become serious about my creative business. Well, as an early entrepreneur, I couldn't afford an assistant, so instead I had to create a system. And that system was simply becoming more organized, no longer relying on my memory alone alone to get things done, but having things set in place in order so that all I gotta do is execute. I recently heard a podcast where I heard somebody describe it as, if your brain only has so many units of focus every single day, and every single thing you do, stress, love, worry, all of it takes away from these units of focus, you need to do everything you can to make sure you're preserving and honoring the gift of mental power that you've been given. And so it started with the shift in my mindset. And even if I was to eventually build an empire, I would have to begin by first having the right mindset, by developing a blueprint, by laying things down brick by brick, and then and only then would I be able to achieve what I ultimately wanted. My fitness journey has been the same way. You might have heard the saying that greatness leaves behind clues. My favorite of all the quotes like this is from the master samurai Miyamoto Musashi. He says, know the way broadly and you can see it in all things. The way I become great and write and set goals for my business was also the way I had to write and set goals for my fitness, and write and set goals for my personal, and write and set goals for family and career, and all of it. I needed to be intentional. I needed to be deliberate. I needed to be focused. And if I could master it in one area, I could spread it out to the rest. And not only that, but I could share it with the people who I love and care about the most, and watch other people win. Because that's where the real victory is. Maybe I wasn't able to achieve every single dream I set out to in my younger years, so that one day I could arrive at this moment and be able to tell you, so that you could benefit from it and you could build upon it, and maybe you could light a spark that leads to somebody else building up the flame. When every single day you know that you have to be accountable to the person in the mirror, you move differently. With every year that passes, we get closer and closer to the end. With every step we take, we get that much closer to the end of our story. What steps are you taking? What systems are you placing in order to give yourself the best chance of success? It's pretty amazing to think just how quickly a year can go by. But just like that, it does. That year is gone and you'll never get it back. But the beauty of it all is the past is already gone and the future isn't promised. What we have is right here today. Before you can focus on winning a year or a month, focus on winning the day and watch the momentum you can build. And if you're anything like me, your ambition won't allow you to rest, knowing that you haven't done everything you could to maximize your output. There's something truly powerful about narrating your life story by hand. There's something powerfully beautiful about intentionally putting pen to paper and taking charge of the very dreams you've been blessed with. Your handwriting is unique and timeless, and only you can produce it. And much like that unique and timeless handwriting of yours that only you can produce, only you can uniquely and timely produce the results that you're looking for. What are you giving yourself? How true are you being to the essence of your own greatness? If you know you got it in you, but you've been sitting on it, now is the time to lock in. All it takes is a notebook, a pen, some patience, consistency, and urgency, and you can change life. Or you can sit on the sidelines and wait for it to happen. Be intentional until it becomes second nature. The same energy you keep with social media, TV, distractions, video games, whatever it is, I'm gonna need you to keep that same energy. Be intentional with your goals until it becomes second nature. And so the same way you can learn to become a student and master of distraction and excuses, you need to keep that same energy with the things you're most grateful for, with the things you need to get done every single day, with the food and water and substances that you put inside of your body. What if instead of embracing excuses and distractions, you take control of your focus, you flip the dynamic, and you use that same energy to fuel your dreams? The same energy it takes to be distracted and make excuses is the exact same energy that you could be using in order to focus on those goals, in order to identify the things you're most grateful for, the fuel that's literally driving your day, in order to take time and reflect about the most important lessons and things that happen to you throughout the day. What about taking inventory of all of the things you're putting inside of your body, the food you eat, the hydration? All of it is playing a role in the way you're able to execute. Is it asking too much for a person who's really serious about that goal to take that momentum they built on the day, recap it all, and use it as fuel for the next one? When you know for a fact there's 3 ways in which I won today and 3 ways in which I could do better. That's the gratitude right there. That's the next move right there. You will win. Data is often at the core of the brightest and best. Those who achieve the highest heights often do so because they have useful information, not only that they have, but they actually utilize. The people who reach the highest heights often use data in order to propel them on their journey. They don't run from flaws and failures, they use them as lessons. They take the data and create teachable moments, and with that build that much more momentum to get them closer to whatever it is they ultimately want to achieve. When you first start a journal like this, it may feel like you're not achieving all the things you want to. Can you build upon it? Can you be patient enough with yourself to recognize that I'm trying and doing something new? Because throughout the whole journey, I'm reflecting and I'm giving myself useful data that I can use for the future. Sometimes life will make you hit the reset button, but a lot of times we end up resetting because we didn't do things properly the first time. We embrace the idea of writing all of this stuff down because we don't want to become too comfortable. We don't want to be lazy or arrogant, complacent. We don't want to lose perspective of just how blessed we've been. There's somebody who didn't wake up in this year. There's somebody who lost somebody who they would have loved to see them live out the true fulfillment of their dreams. When you embrace the journal, you embrace the process. You embrace the small moments in the day-to-day, and that's what's most important. Day in and day out, showing up for yourself, becoming a person who you can believe in, a person who you can trust. How can you be confident in yourself if you consistently let yourself down? On the other hand, whether it's May or September, if you literally have a book of evidence that every single day I'm showing up, I'm trying, I'm putting in work, I'm getting closer, your mind might play tricks on you, but you literally have a book of evidence that shows I'm getting closer to what I say. And even if what I'm doing isn't working, I can reflect and develop new ways in order to get there. This is the beauty of being able to think. This is the beauty of having a sharp and powerful mind. This is the infinite evolution. None of this is really gonna work if your mind isn't first rooted in reality. Without your thinking being committed to excellence. If you aren't committed to taking action, building progress, and ultimately achieving results, it's not gonna happen. And understanding the beautiful dynamic of action and results. Maybe the things you do today don't lead to everything you need tomorrow. Did it get you a little bit closer? Whether you start in January or June, you just gotta pick a place and get rolling. Whether you get all 6 of the things I listed or just 1 or 2 of them, start somewhere, build the momentum, and watch how far you can go. All of it is data. All of it is news you can use if you choose to embrace it. So in 2026, don't make excuses. And if all of that doesn't make sense, look at it from the inverse. Every single day you don't write the goals, you don't write the journal, you don't do this, that is precious data that's being thrown away. If you have zero inclination to pay attention to the world, let alone glean from it the important nuggets you could have gotten today, you are literally throwing away hundreds, if not millions of dollars of useful information that is most useful to you. So whether you're watching this video in January or you need to do a hard reset in September, it doesn't matter. Pick up somewhere and get started. This is the infinite evolution. The beauty of the notebook is all of the pages are blank. If you want to find a planner that has some of these things in it, do it. By all means, embrace it. Just find a way to get your brain onto paper so that you can synthesize your thoughts in a way that's productive. When you first start off, the pages of the notebook are blank. You get to fill it in. You get to write your destiny. You get to decide the life you live. What are you choosing to embrace? It's poetic how life often imitates art. But what if the words and line in this journal are actually the colors and flavor of your life? Be intentional. Give thanks. Focus your mind into the most important things of the day and move forward with a burning passion, knowing that all of it is rooted in purpose. Understand that the game of life is a marathon, not a sprint. Burning out after a week or 2 is actually pretty normal if you haven't taken the time to be intentional and plan the way you want to win. So when the dust settles and your story is written, your hands, heart, mind, all of it will have played a role in the beautiful play that is your life. This is the infinite evolution.